Hey, good morning, afternoon, or evening, good people, wherever you are, wherever you happen to be, and however we're together. Thanks for being here. I'm Dave, and this is Dave's Head. So, what's in my head? To start, obviously, the big thing that's going on right now is the war, quote unquote war. And I'm using air quotes if you're watching. Obviously, the U.S., some say we, I say that guy at D.C., that's not funny at all, firing on Iran. It's about campaign promises versus the reality. The U.S. recently conducted military airstrikes against Iranian targets, claiming to decimate their nuclear capabilities again. While some people describe them as retaliatory or preventive, it does mark a dangerous shift and escalation in the region yet again. And I say yet again with the caveat that yet again a Republican president has done this. Some might argue some of the actions that President Obama took during his campaign in the area um, also could have escalated. I would disagree, but I'll let the experts, quote unquote experts, discuss this. You look at the campaign promises, the Trump promises on the campaign, and you contrast them to what's actually happening. He consistently, constantly positioned himself as a quote anti-war candidate. No more wars. I'll end things day one. I mean, I don't know how many days in, probably a good 200 maybe. I don't know. They're not ended. He criticized past presidents for their military interventions in the Middle East, and yet we are intervening again. Despite all the rhetoric and all the MAGA talk, during his presidency, he has escalated tensions with Iran, withdrawing from the Iran nuclear deal, right? Deal was in place. Iran actually was acquiescing to that deal. The Soleimani strike, if you remember that one. Anti war and actual reality don't seem to be in alignment. And somebody told us this was going to happen. In 2020, then Senator Kamala Harris, who was the U.S. Democratic candidate for the presidency, predicted that Trump could potentially get the U.S. into another war if reelected. It's a war. Make no mistake about it. It may not be World War III, but it's a war. And even today, or in the last 24 or 48 hours, there were claims of a ceasefire and Trump beating his chest. Look what I did. I made them ceasefire, and there are more missiles being fired. More people dying. If we truly, because remember, we can go way back to, I think, the first campaign. We can't be the world's police. And we're kind of policing the situation now. The contrast to the reality are two different things. But there are people out there who just won't care because their savior, I'm trying to be nice right now, their savior is the one that's doing it. Their deity is the one that's doing it. But then Senator, past presidential candidate Kamala Harris's prediction now resonates even more given the current climate of global instability, the shifting military postures this year, the up and down economic trends, the childish, almost hourly social media posts. Even today, I believe I saw an interview where Trump dropped the F bomb in front of the press. And I love the fact that, and I don't love it, it's comical, that Trump can't keep Obama's name out of his mouth. And I generally don't like to just go compare and contrast past presidents to current presidents because the current president's situation is different. Even if the situation seemed the same, it's a changing world in 4 years. Technology changes in 3 months. The world changes certainly in 4 years. But there are certain things that I go in my head Could you imagine if President Obama had done this? Could you I mean, the man wore a tan suit and sent half the freaking free press into a shamble. Could you imagine if President Obama had dropped the F-bomb in the Rose Garden, talking to the press? Or I don't know if he was in the Rose Garden, but it was at the White House, talking to the press, and he dropped the F-bomb. Could you imagine the many ways they would have framed him as not fit for office, unprofessional, unbecoming? I mean, a tan suit got all those three things mentioned and more. But our bar is just so low. Our standards for what we will accept from this president are so grossly low that it just doesn't matter. Literally, I think he could come out in Adidas short sweatsuit, right? Not the whole pants, but shorts, if you will. He could come out in sweatsuits and with a hoodie, smoking a cigar like he's, Gerald Ford or something. And the press would have no problem with it. Well, at least his followers would have no problem with it. But looking at this situation, looking at everything that's led to the situation, Russia was supposed to be done day one. Then it was, 2 weeks. 2 weeks, right? Same thing with this. Two weeks. There'll be a ceasefire, right? 2 weeks and gas prices will come down. 2 weeks and we'll have a health plan. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And there's no accountability for those words being uttered. And don't dare mention this in the White House press room to his press secretary. I mean, she's about the most ignorant, ridiculous person there is. She hates when challenged with facts. She hates when she gets a legitimate question that challenges her deity. Answering directly and handling situations professionally, not her thing. But everything's 2 weeks away with this president. No new wars, and we're in one. Well, 1600 is in one. Not me. But again, the bar is so low, it doesn't matter, right? The expectations for professionalism becoming of the highest office in this country, not really there. We laugh and mock the idiotic things and the 2 a.m. social media posts and F-bombing even in the last 24 hours. I'm sure that'll just be mocked. There will be no standard held to, especially not by his party, but even by the opposite party. There will be no standard there. There won't be a swath of people calling him out because the bar is so low. The bar is so incredibly low that you used to embrace and encourage sometimes students or young people who say, one day I want to be president. One day I want to be like this president. One day I want to be like this person. Are there swaths of youth saying that today? I don't think so. Are there a bunch of people looking at the president as a hero? I don't think so. Outside of the ecosystem, the MAGA ecosystem? No. Around the world? Absolutely not. And don't take my word for it. Talk to people who actually travel. Not people who've been in small town USA all their life or people who've seen only their neighborhood all their life. Talk to people who actually explore outside of the United States. People who have connections with people who are actually outside the United States living today. Talk to them. But here we are with a Republican president, yet again in immediate conflict. Are you really surprised? Before I get to the last thing that's in my head, Dave's Head Podcast is now part of the Live Podcast Network, home of Black voices, where community, culture, and creatives live. Dave's Head Podcast adds to a catalog of over 70 titles available in the Live Podcast Network and app for both iOS and Android. And now you can find video podcasts as well on the Live Podcast Network, on Fire TV, Apple TV, and others. Check out Dave's Head Podcast and many others in the Live Podcast app, the home of Black Voices. The last thing that's in my head is heat wave happiness, embracing the warmth. Now, if you take a look at a heat map of the United States, there is a ginormous heat bubble shield something. It's red, bright red, over almost the entire eastern half of the United States. Now, personally, I love warm weather. I'm a December baby, I'm a winter baby, but I love warm weather. The heat isn't a curse for me. It's comfort. I don't mind sweating. I'm also not that big on clothes, so I can walk around scantily clad in high heat and be okay. It's the joys of being outdoors. In the wintertime, you walk out, the cold wind and the ice is biting you in the face. It's just not pleasant. Now I get it. Incredibly high heat and high temperatures may not be pleasant either, but for me, it's much better. The sun in your face, the melanin popping, the glow, sitting outside with a cold drink, enjoying the sounds, the many sounds that you don't get in the winter. You don't get the birds chirping everywhere. You don't get the breezes passing through the leaves. You don't get, children laughing and playing in the distance. You don't get all these sounds in the winter because you're stuck inside most of the time. But you get to do things like sitting outside having a drink. You get to do things like sitting outside, people watching, right? I love people watching. It's the one thing I probably love to do socially outside. It's people watch. Just go sit somewhere public, preferably with good food, preferably with a good vibe, preferably exposed to the elements, so outdoors, like a deck, a rooftop deck, a porch, not a porch, but a deck, or just outside seating type of thing. And feeling the sun on my face and just watching life pass by, taking time out to visualize the enjoyment of other people, or just making up stories about two people. What are they talking about? Or what are they arguing about? Oh, that's a first date. That type of stuff. But I don't read books that often, but if I sit outside and I have, say, my iPad or my phone, I'll just read different technical articles or read maybe sometimes the news if I want to get caught up in what's going on in the news. Not a lot of times, though. But the other side of it, too, not just the fact that I enjoy being outside and the warmth and the sun hitting me and that feeling where your body is hot but not too hot, like it's just absorbing everything. The mental side of it too, right? Scientifically, sunshine boosts serotonin, helps with your mood. Think about the warmth and the sunshine as being therapeutic. Just think about, what is it called? Seasonal affective disorder, I think it's called. SAD. I think that's the acronym. You're sitting in a house. The snow may look pretty for one day. Then once it gets plowed or it melts a little bit, it gets dirty and now it's just pieces of dirty ice out there, right? But when it's warm outside and say you get a thunderstorm that comes through and it rains and just blows everything everywhere, the next day when the sun comes out, everything just looks beautiful again. And you get that feeling where, unless you're just bedridden or stuck in a house or you just can't consider looking at the light, you look at these beautiful things passing in moment to moment outside, and it's all being illuminated by the sun. It's all being, illuminated for you once you go outside with the warmth. And so it's reflective of all the beauty out there, the warmth that you feel in your skin. It's an existence of, to me, gratitude, right? To survive and get to the summer warming months. So spring too, and fall. But mainly summer. Get to the summer months, right? After cold winter. And thinking about all the things that are going on today, politically, geoeconomically, just there's so many things going on in this world that are negative, very much negative. The positive things and the positive moments that you have every day, you may find are not as plentiful or prevalent or aren't the majority of your day, but they can have a bigger impact on you especially if something like just simply walking outside and feeling that sun on your face. Walking outside or sitting outside in silence and just listening to the world around you, the birds chirping again. I got woodpeckers near me, by the way. And until you actually watch a woodpecker peck wood, for lack of a better way to put it, you don't realize how this little thing that could fit into your hand can do so much damage to a tree. And fun fact, I looked it up. There's, and I may get this partially wrong. I believe what I looked up is that woodpeckers' brains can shift in their head to a more cushy configuration, which protects them from obviously banging into a tree, protects them from brain damage. Kind of cool that genetically they were engineered to be able to do what they're doing, so much so that they have a mechanism inside their body built specifically or created specifically to protect their brain from damage while they're doing the natural thing they were intended to do. Kind of cool. Kind of like how our ribs are genetically engineered to protect our internal organs. Kind of cool. The creator of all this, thinking about all these little nuances of all these animals on this planet. Kind of cool, right? This is stuff I sit around and think about when I'm just sitting outside enjoying the sun with either a cool drink or music playing or anything like that. I embrace the warmth. I love the warmth. Even if it's 90 degrees, 95, 100 degrees out. Now, I may not sit out there all day. Not really healthy. But I will take in as much as I can. I golfed in 115 degree weather in Houston 2 years ago. Golfed outside, 115 degrees. Never need to do that again. That is a box that I checked in Sharpie. Will never be erased, but I don't have to check it again. But that's what's in my head. So life rarely moves in a straight line. There's this beauty and sometimes even chaos in reinvention or reinventing yourself. From starting over in a new country to shifting careers and identities, embracing change, owning your own narrative, and trusting your creative energy can lead to a life that's both fulfilling and some people may perceive unconventional. Will Moore has a website, moremomentum.com. He's a serial entrepreneur, and this is self-described, serial entrepreneur, gamification, habits, and happiness expert. Wow, try that. He has a blog entry entitled The Clock's Ticking, How to Reinvent Yourself Before 2026, and it was just published June 1st of this year. He dives into his whole story and the understanding of the need to reinvent yourself and what that entails. He's pinpointed 9 scientifically backed, he says, ways to reinvent yourself at any age. I'll go through them really quickly. Number 1, he says, assess your current state. Start by conducting a comprehensive self-assessment across your 5 core areas of life: mindset, career, finances, relationships, physical health, and emotional health. Now, I think anything you're doing, any change you're making, you should start with an assessment of where you are, because you'll never know where you're going to go if you don't assess your current state. Number 2, he says, define what self-reinvention means to you. It can mean a lot to a lot of people. Reflect on your personal definition of success. If you don't define success, how can you know that you're actually achieving something? Now, traditionally, he says some people may consider that getting a higher salary or looking at non-material things such as work-life balance or personal happiness. Either way, define what that success means to you. Number 3, he says set goals that are aligned with your core values using SMART goals. And if you don't know what SMART goals are, they're specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals. So if you've never heard of SMART goals, that's what SMART goals are. But they should mirror your core values and your new, broader definition of success, which you define in step 2. For example, if health is a core value, you may set a goal to run a half marathon within the next year. Break it down into monthly goals, etc., etc. Again, SMART goals. Number 4, he says, develop new skills and habits. Now, as somebody in technology, understanding the technology changes like that, developing new skills and habits is critical to getting anywhere in life, let alone reinventing yourself. Getting those skills matter. So he says, identify and cultivate new habits to support your goals. We call them, quote unquote, success habits. Number 5, learn and adapt, which kind of sounds like number 4, just a little different. Adopt a mindset of continuous learning and adaptability. Stay away from negative self-talk. I can't do this. This is too hard. This is taking too much time. Stay away from those things. Number six, and I think number six is critical, probably could have been number one. Build a support system. I'm big on the circle of support. Surround yourself with a supportive network, including mentors, family and friends, peers who provide encouragement. Even join groups with similar interests or goals to foster that support and make it a point to engage with these connections regularly. Mentors, mentee relationships are huge things to have. Number seven, implement routine checks and adjustments. Regularly assess your progress towards your goals and adjust your strategies as necessary. If you don't check in, you don't know how well you're doing or how bad you're doing even. You don't know what changes you might need to make along your path. Number eight, next to last one, celebrate your milestones. I kind of like this. When you do your checkups, maybe you overachieve where you wanted to be. Celebrate that. And he says acknowledge and celebrate every achievement along your reinvention journey, whether completing a significant project or achieving a new personal best in a fitness challenge. Mark these successes in a meaningful way. Could be a cupcake, could be a Snickers, could be a happy hour. Just celebrate the fact that you're sticking with it and achieving a milestone. Number nine, last one, stay true to your vision. Maintain your focus on your long-term vision, especially during challenging times. If you're training for a marathon and you run into a snowstorm and winter season hits and you can't even get out of your house because you're snowed in, stay true to your vision. When you can, get back out there and do it like you did before the snow hit. Develop a daily routine of visualizing your goals and the steps needed to achieve them. That's important. Can't see it, you can't do it. Success, in summary, doesn't always look like big titles or big bank balances, but more like freedom, expression, and purpose. It's never too late to reinvent yourself or to course correct towards better outcomes. And we're talking about reinvention because I have an amazing guest this episode, Aisha Makara. She is a creator, artist, world traveler, speaker, and author. A little bit about her. She's born in Mongolia, an orphan at the age of 2. She has traveled to over 60 countries using her life journey to fuel her art, writing, and motivational speaking. She's a civil engineer turned artist, entrepreneur, and author, most recently publishing the Joyful Living Guidebook and even sending her artwork to outer space via SpaceX. We're going to love to talk about that. From building a boutique hotel business in Portugal to living nomadically in the US, selling her art from a customized van, Aisha empowers others to embrace transformation and manifest their dream lives. Welcome to Dave's Head, Aisha. How's it going?
Hi, Dave. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. If you had points, by the way, I was listening to you. You had a great points. I'm actually practicing many of them in my life. And the celebration one, I was neglected for like a while. And,
Mm-hmm.
somebody, one of my friends said to me, I get to do that because I have achievements and I get to celebrate these achievements. So I'm very grateful that, you actually great reminder again for me to do that
Mm-hmm.
in my life. Yeah. Thank you for having me, Dave.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I'm excited to talk to you. But on the topic of celebrating yourself, I think it's important to recognize the good things that you do in life, the achievements and milestones that you make, because sometimes you may look around and nobody's celebrating you. So why not celebrate yourself?
Exactly. I agree. I agree on that.
Before we get into it, I know I gave an introduction for you, but as always with my guests, I love for them to introduce themselves. So if you could take a moment, tell the people who you are, what you do, and what you're about.
Well, I'm artist, entrepreneur, and author. I just published my book recently, Joyful Living Guidebook, where I'm giving people like simple examples how to live joyful life, and also sharing some of my artworks that I have. And I'm living right now in Lisbon, I'm based in Lisbon, creating my artwork here right now, and having my solo exhibitions, in galleries, working towards getting more into the scene, art scene, being successful, doing that as well. In my background, you see it's my art on my wall. Actually, sailing right now, that's one of my biggest dream next that I want to do. It's sailing around the world. And it's not easy actually by getting into the space of sailing. I did a little bit in Florida, and Los Angeles, and like here and there in Europe. I never consider it like do it more like intentionally, because I want to go around the world. And now I decided to do my own captain license, and it takes me time learning about sailing and engines and all of that. And it's a lot of work, a lot of practice, a lot of hours to put in the ocean to do that. And by learning it, by practicing it, you're facing different things, and at the same time, you're learning a lot about yourself. That's how I look at
Gotcha.
it. Always, always learning.
Gotcha. So you reinvented yourself many times, from engineer to artist, entrepreneur, author. I talked about that in your intro, and you just touched on it a little bit. But what's been the most defining transformation in your journey so far?
For me, artist, by being engineer, I remember when I was working as an engineer, everyone is trying to put you in a box. By being a businesswoman or entrepreneur, they put you also in a box. And when I discover me as an artist, and I started to be just me, and so I realized this is the journey, or this is who I am, the way I am. So I'm an artist, so nobody kind of like anymore putting me in a box. So I'm feeling way more free to be me, because I felt all this judgment time to time of the people that get approve something, and explain something, and such a levels that I was not considered to go so deep in some exploration of being, let's say, what it is to be engineer, like, or what it is to be businesswoman. And now, by being artist, I'm going through this deep exploration as an artist, and I see as an artist I'm evolving more and more. I'm creating more and more, and I started to work now on the subjects. So I believe, like, as an artist, when you're exploring that space deeper and spending more hours on exploration and experimentation, you started to learn how far you can go. You started to kind of like being way more open and flexible towards the journey itself. You don't anymore like questioning yourself so much, just going with the flow. This is what I do, is like just trusting the flow of life, the flow of magic of life, the mystery of life. And the more I'm inviting that mystery into my life, more I'm feeling like life is just really so incredible, and having this amazing life and living it and exploring it, and like this all the wonders, travels. I just really love learn new languages, cultures, food. um, it just like it just so much, even art. When I started to learn about art more and more, I love museums, so I love galleries. And every time when I'm going to the gallery or a new exhibition, I 10 years ago I didn't even think that I would be one of them who is right now organizing exhibitions, who is creating art, and doing all this thing that I'm doing last, let's say, 6 7 years of my life. And it's evolving, it's really evolving. And by being a speaker right now, by sharing my voice with the world, my wisdom and what I have learned through my lifetime, and sharing some things in my book as well, on the way to publish my second book, I'm just feeling like it's just so many amazing things I experience in my life, I'm learning through my life, that I would like to share and show people how beautiful life can be when they're choosing to see the beauty in the life. Because so above, so below. That's what I believe. Like, God wants us to be happy, God wants us to be joyful, and accept and embrace our journey, and speak up our voice, speak up our wishes and our dreams, because it's real, it's possible.
Yeah. You talk about, or you mentioned in there, flexibility. Um, and I'm curious, and I want to touch on that a little bit, because to take on these challenges of reinventing yourself, and getting out there and visiting 60 plus countries and experiencing all the things, interacting with all the people, learning different languages, there's a bit of flexibility within yourself that has to loosen up, whether it's your mind, your heart, your intentions. Talk about where you were from a flexibility standpoint to where you are now, and how has that just evolved so much?
I think it's all connected to the curiosity. And when you're curious and you wonder, you adapting. You started to adapt to different realities, or you started to create your own realities by having ideas. And every time when I'm adapting to the reality, in the beginning, when I was younger, I didn't have the visions or like these images in my head. I just had like kinds of impulses that I felt that is right things to do because I didn't know. I was just exploring and I was just feeling like, oh, if I would do it, probably it can bring me there. You know, if I do this, it will bring me there. I stopped. I was drinking, for example, when I was a teenager, and I've been not in a good company. I went through some very, I get to face very heavy reality in my orphan age. Let's say like this, in my orphanage time. And what happened is when I faced the death of my friends that time, I get to realize what matters for me, what I want to create in my life, what I want to live. And I started to create action towards that with my voice. And sometimes people would help you, other times people don't. And I'm feeling like by not connected or not be so, how's it, attached to no or yes, just go continue to explore. I feel like that would started to create more possibilities for me because I said to myself, no, it doesn't. Sometimes no doesn't mean no. It's just in a moment, and you can change that. No can change to yes, and sometimes yes doesn't mean yes. So I started to learn that I just need to have one yes, and that's how I started to live into the other exploration of the reality that I'm living today. Because I also been control freak some time of my life after Norway and after planning many things as engineer and studying engineering and working as an engineer. I was a lot of on a planning mode, 1 year planning, 3 years planning, 5 years planning. So I was always like a long-term planning and it was amazing. I love planning as well. The thing is like you started to become like in your head, you're attached to the plan. You know, you're attached to the idea that you have and sometimes you're missing some things in your life. You sometimes you can miss the life by going towards this point. And one day I wake up and I said to myself, I get to go with the flow and don't be too control about the reality I want to live or the picture that I have in my head. So I get to don't be attached to the outcome and learn how to be flexible and it was not easy task. It took me years to understand about flexibility. The artist way, me as an artist, helped me to be way more flexible in my reality and be way more flowy, more feminine, explore more of my femininity actually as well. So it's all connected. I like it's such a deep question. So it's like all the things is connected in such a level that I cannot like explain with like the words I have, you know?
Yeah.
It's just
Well, I'm curious because you mentioned your youth, and I know you were born in Mongolia and you were orphaned dad too. How did that mindset? How was your mindset when you first started as a youth, and how did it impact your creativity, your freedom? You know, your urge to be free as a teen, right? How is that young childhood, the way everything happened in your childhood, launched everything that you are today?
I've been always living in my own world. When I learned to read, I started to spend a lot of time in the library, and I started to imagine, and I started to write my own books, of fairy tale books and after novels, and I was writing a lot. I was journaling since I'm 7 or 8. And for me, I was my best friend. And I'm kind of like every time I was having this imagination because my mother abandoned me very early age. So it was not easy for me to connect with other kids. Even so, I've been very connected. I was very playful. I had a lot of fun with them. They were not my best friends. They were not like that friends forever who I can, be all the time with. So like that was sharing all the secrets or like so these things that I experienced in my childhood in a brutal way because the environment very brutal, the weather is brutal. It's very cold winters. So many things. The punishment doesn't matter what you do, you get to punish, be punished. So it's like it's harsh in many ways. So you're accepting that it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to be punished anyway. So why to worry? If they if you'll still be alive, it's like it's good. It's good. At the point when I end up in the orphan or on my teens, I become rebellious. I don't know why I've started to feel this belonging. I want to belong to the group, and I was trying to hang out with different groups, and eventually I ended up not in a good group that was not doing good things, and I was just kind of like having fun with this group because they didn't judge me, they just accept me the way I am, and other groups they always like wanted to prove something, and that I do something for them, and I get to kind of like prove to be in the group, and so it was. I didn't feel I'm fitting in, and when I end up in this not good group, I stopped to go to the school. I was doing not good things. I was drinking, and I was doing um, saying not nice words. I was fighting a lot of fights. And what happened is like my teachers, like me being leader of the class for years, and here I am, like being some months of my year of my life when I was a teenager, was not behaving well, like kind of like uh, being bullied and being like not nice, and uh, so it's changed their reality, they changed the perspective about me, and they become like nasty to me back, and like me being nasty for a few months and being good for many years. Here I am, I understood like how fast things can change just because you've been like right now facing some a time in your life that you don't even understand because you're a kid what you're going through, and you cannot even explain to the adults what you're going through, and adults doesn't have curiosity to observe you and ask you questions, and I'm feeling like when you're in a supportive environment with people who really cares about you, like about your well-being, about your success, as you say, it's like it helps you to understand that how successful you can be and what success is. In my environment, it wasn't like that. In my environment, I get to understand that through the death of my friends, like in a very young age, they were 16 or 17, like very young, like to understand that I don't want to live this life, because I was like, one day remember I was writing in my journal, and I was like, would I survive until 18? Would I actually be still alive? Because I was 50, about 15, turned 15. And this, for me, like when I faced that reality, I said, I don't want to be here. I get to finish the school, I get to go to the university, I get to do all the things I want to do for myself. And I started to do that. I started to come back, like I finished the school. But the thing is, what happened? It didn't come back. The teachers was continue nasty to me, a very time, they put in very low scores, and it was like kind of this idea of fighting with me just because I was fighting with them, like a little the short time of my life that they were not, they were remembering, and they every time was telling me that how bully I am, how how nasty I am, how bad person I am, how bad girl I am, all the time, like until I finished the school. Even at the school, like when I was in the last day of the school, they it was completely like, you know, not nice. So I was feeling like my rebellion waking up, and I'm like, I express everything what I think about them, the way they treat me, and I said, I don't deserve it, and I will find a place where people accept me the way I am and love me the way I am and support me the way I am. And it took me a while, to explore and figuring out that this is the place is Europe for me, and I'm just feeling like you get to go on that exploration of life journey to learn where you belong. And you can fail as many times as possible, and it's okay. You know, when we are here, life is matters. We are matters here. And the all experiences we're going through, it's experience. So it's up to us to cheer them or look at this as a blessings or the opposite. Everything is perspective. And I used to say, choose wisely because so above, so below. You can be angel in some people's eyes and you can be evil in other people's eyes. And it's up to them to decide who you are. You're not here to decide for anyone. Many times we're not even decided for ourselves. When we are choosing ones, because we went through the journey that we get to go through, like we don't choose that. We've been chosen. And you cannot escape these things that you get to face in this lifetime. And many times I'm asking myself why I'm not normal. Why I cannot be normal as anyone else? Why I cannot be like just having this normal job, being having family, having kids, having normal like setup of my life. Why I'm like the way I am? Because every time I'm pushing myself to do the normal things, it's like some I'm sabotaging. It's some kind of like something is happening around me, and it's damaged me more than if I'm doing the things that I want to do and being this rebellious one and don't care what other people think about me or telling me. And I'm like, if I'm going to be good, like from the perspective of what good is of the society, and society doesn't even appreciate that at the end of the day, and I'm just feeling like I get to be just me. That's what I came to the point. Like every time when I'm me, life is just great.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you kind of have to you look at things from a being yourself to trying to be someone else. If you just look at those two areas of life, it's always harder. It's always more difficult. You fail a lot more when you try to be something that you're not. If you sit in your comfort zone and you're who you are, who you want to be, um, I think it's just easier to be that. It's easier to be accepted as that. I mean, after at some point, people have to accept you for who they are, for who you are, or they don't. I mean, that's just kind of what it is. But you talk about manifestation, if you think about that, and you think about what it took for you to realize at 16, 15, that this is not where I want to be. I want to be somewhere better. You had to manifest that at some point, whether it's through your journaling or just daydreaming in bad situations or daydreaming at night when you couldn't sleep. Talk about the power of manifestation and how that got you from where you were to where you are, and just generally the power of manifestation and what it can do for people in general.
Well, I started to read the books because I'm a big reader. I'm reading all the time. So I started to read these books of, we have a Joe Dispenza. And in Russia, we had different author, kind of similar. Like he also writing about the picturing things, and he has a lot of books. And I remember my friends and one of my birthdays brought me one of these books, and like I found this book myself. That is like I started to share with my friends. I give them to read it, and I said, and some of them like, oh my, he has a lot of other books. So the power of manifestation come from that. When I was living in a little town, that time of my life, and I started to think that I want to move. I was already hitchhiking that time, um, using hitchhiking club because I want to travel. That was my like a big things. I want to travel to the places I want to go, and for me, it was no money, no. let's say no parents, nothing to like create that reality, because it's very very expensive to do that. And everyone says to me like, oh, travels is so expensive. Anyway, I started to travel, and it's actually was not so expensive at all. But it's you're spending more money in real life than when you're traveling. Anyways, the point is, I learned a lot of things by doing it, by having time to plan my travels, and after like organizing my finances, and after realizing one day that why I, why not to move to the capital. And the first time when I arrived to the capital, it's such a huge city. Moscow is a big city, and I couldn't. I was overwhelmed, super overwhelmed. And I remember that how I'm going to live in this city. It's just so overwhelming and so scary. I'm feeling so small. And it took me some time, of course, to have a course. Year after that, I moved to Moscow, and for me it took I visited Moscow like second time. It was some conference, so like some forum like for the youth. I went there for 2 3 days, and after like my third time I've been transferred as a student. Like the it's opportunities, you create them by showing up, continue to show up, continue believing that it's something there for you that you don't know, and the same time something is bigger, something like you don't even like imagine. And the same time having images, I had the images of the places I want to go, I want to visit. And when I was 19, I feeling like when I accomplished all my dreams of travels, when I went to all the places, and I had in my 20, I remember I was in New York and Times Square, and this big screen on top of the one of the restaurants, and having the New Year, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a winner. And I remember that I was staying there, and I was watching this with everyone and saying 58, 59, 59, 58, 57. And I'm like, I'm having a year. And I was like, I'm a winner of the world. And I was like screaming. And I remember my boyfriend that time, he was like, you're crazy. I said like, I accomplished all my travels dreams, and I'm just feeling like, what next? That's why I'm like, okay, I'm going to work as an engineer. That's what people want me to do, 9 to 5, how being service to the community. So this is what I started to do, because I already traveled. Everything was planned ahead, as I said, like Norway, I was planning already everything for 5 years ahead with who I'm going to be, my next journey, my next things, who I am, like the way I'm going to be as engineer, my career as engineer, and everything was working smooth the way, even better than I planned. And I just didn't accept one thing, that I can be overwhelmed and burn out. My first burnout happened when I was about 23, I think. And when I didn't want to work anymore, I didn't want to. I was the youngest engineer. I was like doing a lot of things, too many things, because I'm hyper and I'm action. I was not drinking, no partying, nothing. And I was just doing very good things for the community, volunteering, being leader of the youth of Red Cross, traveling, doing forums, organizing forums around all Norway, organizing events and also forums for my work, doing a lot of things like travels, being promoted every 6 months. So for me, I was like living success in such a like very, very, very young age. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so rich. I can go anywhere I want. I get to plan my vacation. I get to plan how many weeks of the year I want to relax or like go on vacations, because we don't have any sun. So I'm getting very depressed every like 6 months with like big depression, not big depression, it was seasonal depressions that I get to face because there's no sun. I'm very sunny person. So I get to like manage in that time of my life so many things, and I've been so successful in the same time. And I couldn't even understand that I'm successful. Like my life is like um, real success, because I had a job, I had amazing partner, I had amazing life, I had amazing house, I have amazing car. Everything is just so great, and I can travel anywhere in the world I want to go. Very young, in very young age. I created that success. I manifested by just wanted to travel around the world, by just wanted to go to these places I wanted to go. And I created that reality of service after achieving my own dreams. It's kind of being like my gratitude. And I practice gratitude since I'm 15. And I'm just feeling like for me, by practicing gratitude all like 20 years of my life, I'm feeling like because of that time of my life when I get to face the death and I get to decide for myself the life I want to live and why. Because I was having so much time, so much fun with my friends, and I said to myself, I want to be happy because they want me to be happy. They don't want me to like be sad and depressed. Even so, I went through a lot of sadness and suicidal things and everything because I'm emotional. You know, I'm a very creative human being. So it took me a while to discover that side of me. And now I'm like living manifestation. I used to, I practiced it so many times already. So it's no limits how much we can explore. My art is already in a space, you know, and I'm just feeling like, what's next? It's just like dream more, have as many dreams as possible, because all of them real. In some reality, they exist for you. You get to just find the key to enter that reality. And I think we have that key in our heart. We get to continue just following our heart, following our path, and it's going to be all of that. It's there. That door is open.
Yeah, you touched on really quickly your art being in space with SpaceX, and I do want to touch on that really quickly before we get to my last question. Talk about that collaboration. How did your art end up on a spacecraft? What's the story behind that?
Well, it was it was a COVID time, and when I came with this idea to send my artwork to the office of Elon Musk and to Richard Branson to his office, Virgin Galactic, and to Jeff Bezos to his office in Amazon, and asking Elon Musk to send my art to the space, asking Richard Branson to paint his rocket, and asking Jeff Bezos to send me to the space. And that's why when opportunity arrived to send my art to the space, and I think it was 2022, it was such a crazy year of my life when many things has happened, and I get to face vulnerability in such a um, I would say such a very interesting way, very vulnerability that was not easy for me to access at all. Like being in a control, I have these strong images, facing, like not creating these images in my life, being such a powerful creator, powerful manifester. And here I am, like, get to face the reality by living a dream. I already knew I'm living a dream. I was living in Florida, living in my van, selling my art, having great time. I was like super happy, super joyful. Yes, I had some issues with my relationship a little bit, whatever. And I'm like, generally, I was so happy and so joyful, you know. And here I am. My voice was blocking in, and my identity was stolen. Absolutely everything was gone in one day. And it took me, of course, a while, and I got to go and do this big ceremony in the main stage next day, and I couldn't do that. My event was completely destroyed. I didn't have any money, and I explained everything. I went to the festival and explained everything what happened. And I said I wanted to do, and people were willing to help me to set up and everything. And in that moment, I just couldn't show up for myself. I was so um, destroyed, you know, like so like surprised. At the same time, like, oh my gosh, how does it, like, how it's possible, these things? And you know, it's kind of like reinvention. I call it like you rebuilding yourself from the ashes after that. You kind of like entering a completely new phase of your life that you haven't even imagined was exist before. And vulnerability for me in that weak point of my life, the most weakest point of my life, where I get to just accept and surrender and just be me, expressing from the heart. um, that was not easy. It was grounding at the same time. It was so grounding, and understanding who I am, like from the heart, how powerful I am. And when this opportunity arrived to to send my art to the space, and my friend, she sent me a message and she said like, oh, this is like, I found it on Instagram. Uh, this company is sending art to the space. It's one of your dreams. Do you want to apply? And I said like, yes. And I applied. Even so, I didn't have any tools, nothing, like no phones. That I get to ask every type of support. I've been vulnerable enough and have fun with that, playful enough to do that. I misunderstand many things. I was like completely in my own world, and and I managed it. Happened. It happened. And the funny thing is, I share this opportunity with many of my artist friends, and nobody have done it. And later they was asking me, how did it happen? I said like, because it's my dream, because it's connected. And every time when I see the opportunity towards my dreams, I take the action. Or I create that opportunity myself by sending emails, sending mails, you know, and just do it. Because you never know. You get to, when you have these ideas, just go and do it. Because for now, I'm kind of in my own zone to living my life, and I know when I will have this again, this strong impulse or towards the action to do something, to create something, I would create it from my own, create that opportunity for myself by sharing it in social media or whatever I choose to. And I'm feeling like in my life, I believe we're powerful creators. We get to have as many dreams as possible because universe, the God, wants us to live them. And universe and God wants us to create these dreams and being the living examples of our true dreams. Because if Walt Disney, if you look at the Walt Disney, when he created Walt Disney, it was completely, it was idea, and he was keep going, keep dreaming, he keep creating. Now we have Walt Disney everywhere, Disney World everywhere, and around the world, and it's a beautiful, it's a magical, it's like every time it's a fairy tale.
It's the happiest place on earth.
Exactly. People are feeling very happy.
Yeah,
And that's why I'm just
yeah.
feeling like, what's the difference between Walt Disney and me? Or like Walt Disney and anyone else? Just a dream.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
the size
We
of
have
the
the
dream.
Yeah, we have the power to manifest our own success, right? We can't do anything just sitting on our butts. We can't do anything just thinking about it. We have to actually take action and do it. So
It's the
it's
same.
definitely whether it's
You,
manifest. Yeah.
it's the same. You can do the action and create more things in your life than
Hmm.
sitting at the same time. And you still will live your life. This, it's just different how you want to like really do that. Do you want to create the action? It's the same. Everyone have 24 hours. Everyone have 24 hours on the planet Earth, and each of us using these 24 hours differently. That's the difference between all of us. And the all the what we have in common, all of us, it's death. We get to face that one day anyway. So it doesn't matter you're rich, you're poor, you're happy, unhappy, you will face it. We all have the same. And you can wake up today and still have these 24 hours and decide how you want to use them. It's simple. And for me, I'm deciding how I want to spend my 24 hours every single day. I have that power of choice. And I'm so grateful I created it for myself. If I want to go somewhere today with my friends, travel somewhere in the world, I can do it. I have that time to do that. And I'm just feeling like sometimes, and actually many times, you get to just say yes to that opportunity. That's it. The rest will unfold.
Yeah.
That's how I believe in that.
So, got you. And, I look forward to, now that I follow you, I look forward to seeing some of the travel that you do. That's the end of the Q&A segment for this episode. Now I'm going to move on to my favorite segment, my guest, called First Thoughts. But First Thoughts is brought to you by a live podcast network, which Dave Head Podcast is part of now, home of Black Voices, where community, culture, and creatives live. Dave's Head is available in the live podcast network and the app for both iOS and Android, joining over 70 titles available in the live podcast network. And now there's visual also on Fire Stick, Apple TV, and Amazon, and all these other places. So check it out. Home of Black Voices. So, Aisha, are you familiar with First Thoughts?
Not so much. Tell me.
Okay, let me tell you about it. So, and for those who are tuning in for the first time, as I always say, shame on you, but I'm happy you're here. First Thoughts is me providing my guests a word or a phrase to get their first thoughts. Now, obviously, they're not privy to those first thoughts. That would ruin the whole impulsiveness of the first thought. So, Aisha, the first thought I'm going to give you is reinvention. If I say reinvention to you, what's your first thought?
Rebuilding
Hmm.
or restoring
Okay. Feel free to
or
elaborate a little bit if you want to.
hmm? um, creativity.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. So I like to start with a softball one all the time, but here's the next one. The next first thought is cosmic legacy. What's your first thought?
Art in space.
Okay. Okay. All right. So last first thought, fearless femininity. What's your first thought?
Just show up the way you are.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, I'm like the way I am in this case, with a
Okay.
smile on the face.
All right. Yes, absolutely. Always wear a smile. Smiling
Always
is
with a
warming.
smile.
It's
Yes.
heartening. Yeah, absolutely. So that's all for the first thoughts. But starting last season, I gave my guests an opportunity to fire a first thought back at me. So if you had a first thought for me, what would it be?
Um, Probably hug you.
You want to hug me? Well, I say
If I will be like in
hugs are
in
not.
a real like a real world, I see you. I probably will give you a hug. The first.
Gotcha. Well, I do get that I'm a likable person, a social person. I'm happy to give hugs most of the time, although I'm not a touchy feely person that often. But hugs can be very disarming. So
Oh.
I don't know if you ever seen the guy. He walks around with a sign in public, and he says free hugs, and it just walks up to people if they want to give him a hug, he gives them a hug. It's a very disarming thing that he does. So hugs have the opportunity to break barriers, whether it's race, sex, hate, love, all these barriers that are out
Mhm.
there. A simple hug can disarm even the coldest of hearts. So,
Mhm. I agree.
absolutely. All right, Aisha, this was a great time with you. I'm very happy to hear about your journey. Before I let you go, as I always do with all my guests, if there's anything you'd like to promote or talk about, feel free to do so now.
Well, people can find me, Aisha today. It's my website. Aisha today is AISHA today, where people can see my mentorship program, about my book, about my art, and some articles that I'm publishing as well, and of course my story and what I'm doing right now, the investment opportunities around Portugal and Europe. So I'm here for you guys. Aisha, that's today.
All right. Well, Aisha, this was a great time. As I started saying this season, but I feel like you're probably the guest this most is emblematic for. I say to all my guests, may every today be the best day of your life.
I feel like every day it's the best day. It depends the way you look it up. For me, it's like when it's sunny
Mm-hmm.
outside, I'm already feeling it's the best I can experience
Mm-hmm.
today. When it's rainy outside, it's also great. I mean, every day it's a best day from my perspective, and I'm just thinking
Absolutely.
like what I can do with that day, and
Absolutely.
because I do believe people do their best every day. It's just different
Mm-hmm.
best today than yesterday, like
Yeah.
because we're always doing our best from the perspective of our best of the day. That's how I look at it, and each day is the best to start something new and
Absolutely.
different.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Well, have yourself a great rest of your day and the rest of this year, and take care.
Bye for now.
My absolute favorite segment of my podcast is My GRIN, which stands for Great Reason to Be in Love with Now. I talked about in the opening about my love for the summer and even embracing summer heat, surviving and thriving in the summer heat, depending on if you work inside, work outside, do you work out outside, do so many things outside. You have to be able to survive and thrive. And even with a serious, not taking it lightly, heat wave on the horizon, there's still so much to enjoy. There are safe and fun outside ideas that the Red Cross has on their website to get you through this heat wave in an enjoyable way of things you can do outside. And I'll touch on them really briefly. The first one is early morning or early evening walks. Obviously, as the sun rises and sets, the crest of or the peak of that rise is going to be the hottest part of the day. So, getting an early morning walk in or early evening walk in when you have the cooler temps of the day are pretty safe, but pretty fun as well. And you get a quiet atmosphere. If you do it early enough, before all the buzz happens with the kids running around and the cars and traffic, and depending where you are, school buses, um, it's a good idea. Or evening walk when you just have that cool air starting because the night's cooling off and you're kind of reflecting on your day. You're taking that moment to decompress, if you will. Safe and fun outdoor idea, I should say. The second one, shaded park picnics. Now, I haven't done this in a while. I do enjoy doing these things. Going, finding a park, taking a blanket, if you have a basket, putting some stuff in it, maybe bringing a little speaker, listening to some music, maybe just laying back, looking up the sky, just again, taking it all in. But you just enjoy, again, being outside. Breathable clothing are necessary because you don't want to be out there in sweatpants, just sweating on a blanket on the grass. But shaded park picnics. Now, you can choose to lay in the sun. The sun's going to move. You may get some shadows, or you can intentionally be under a tree and make it a little bit of a cooler experience for you and a little less tannish experience too, depending on what you're looking for. The third one, backyard movie night. Now, I've never actually done this myself, but I have attended one that my very good friend who's over my right shoulder here, I'm pointing to him right now if you're on Spotify video or YouTube or a live podcast network. But my great friend, may he rest peacefully, Chaka Williams, did a backyard movie night, and it was actually the first time I had seen Hamilton. Had never seen it before, and it was in that moment that I actually fell in love with the movie, and love in a way where I can watch it over and over and over again. I can listen to the soundtrack just driving in the car, blasting in the house, that type of stuff. But projector, popcorn, maybe even fans if you have it or if you need it. But you can put on so many different things because you can make it a children's backyard movie night. You can make it an adult backyard movie night, and I don't mean adult movies. People, calm down. I just mean rated R type stuff, like shoot 'em up, bang 'em up type of stuff that you might not want to have young children watching. So backyard movie nights, kind of cool. If you have a projector or if you just have a large TV you could put outside and have people come watch, that's kind of cool. Number four is splash pads or misting stations. And, kids and adults both love these. I've never done either. I have done the slipping slide. I don't know if you remember the commercial slip and slide back in the day. I have done that. The missing stations, I've seen them. I've never walked through one. Kind of cool. For me, if you're going to miss me, not miss me, but missed me, then, 2 minutes later, now I'm probably hotter than I was before, like skin wise, because, it cools off, but then the sun hits it. It's almost like cooking some boiling water on your skin to me. So I don't really do it. Now, I'll jump in a pool all day because you get out, you're soaking wet, you're dripping still. You might dry off a little bit, but your clothes are still nice and wet and sort of kind of cooling you off. The fifth one, botanical garden after dark events. So many cities have night admission in the summer to botanical gardens. We have a garden not too far from us in Pennsylvania. I believe there's a couple in the state of Delaware as well that may have events. And there's also things in actually the local parks not far from where I am where they do night things. There's nighttime movie nights, I believe a bar has, because they have a very big outdoor space. And so they do movie nights, I think, on Mondays. So there's a lot of things you can do in your community or in the vicinity of your community, like botanical gardens or bars that have outdoor events, to enjoy the summer warmth. Get out and enjoy that stuff. The last one, which I actually really, really love because I recently got back into photography a couple years ago, and I'm actually shooting different events and doing different things over the last couple years. I'm ramping up my photography side hustle, if you will, but stargazing or night photography. And so cooler temps, clearer skies, especially when you have just a clear sky summer night, make for the perfect, I think, stargazing or nighttime photography, especially if you're in a plainish area of the world where, there's not a lot of buildings, not a lot of mountainous areas. It's very plainish. And I don't mean plain like simple. I mean plain like plains and fields, right? And so stargazing, where there's not a lot of streetlights, you'll see a lot more of the sky, the nighttime sky. I went to school at a very rural, remote area up in Pennsylvania. And so at nighttime, and it was also an elevated part of Pennsylvania. And so at nighttime, clear sky, you just saw, it was like a planetarium of stars that you'd see above you because there weren't a lot of streetlights to drown out the light, drown out the stars. And so those are all pretty cool ideas. Early morning or evening walks, shaded park picnics, backyard movie nights, splash pads, misting stations, botanical gardens or local events at night or after dark events, and then stargazing and nighttime photography. All great ways that you can survive, if you will, but also thrive in the summer heat. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the safety side of this. Now, obviously, these are recommendations. I'm not being held accountable for any of these things that you may or may not do that may or may not result in some physical harm to yourself. Obviously, you have your own choices. But a few safety tips. Hydration is key. I understand that as somebody who does not like to hydrate as much as I should, but keeping a refillable water bottle with you is something that you can do to stay hydrated. Using sunscreen. Now, granted, I love to just go out without sunscreen. I go out and get chocolate. But using sunscreen, taking breaks in shaded areas is important to do. SPF, I believe, 30, 60, depending what you need. Whatever you recommend or a doctor recommends, medical professional, whatever, use sunscreen. And then lightweight, light colored clothing helps to reflect the heat. Please don't be out there in all black. Don't be out there in sweat bags trying to do a walk in the early morning thinking because you got a cooler environment that a sweat bag is not going to be too dangerous. Please don't be out there running in sweat bags. You're not Martin Lawrence back in the 90s or whenever that was. It might have been 2000s. But hydrate, sunscreen, lightweight or light colored clothing. Please, please, please do. I want to thank Aisha Makara, creator, artist, world traveler, speaker, and author, for stepping into Dave's head and sharing some amazing insight about her journey. She had a remarkable journey from the age of 2 to now, just experiencing the world. Over 60 countries visited. It was an amazing, amazing number. Very happy to have her. You can find her on our website, Aisha.today. Again, Aisha.today, not .com, Aisha.today. check out her book, Joyful Living Guidebook. As I started a long time ago, it feels like now, at the end of this, in every episode, I like to provide you with a quote to summarize our episode and our time together. I think it's only appropriate to talk about the beauty of the summer as I talk about my favorite season. I love the summer. I love the warm weather. Put me on any island. Give me 85, 90 degrees. 95 is okay too. I'm good and happy with it. But our quote this episode comes from Brian Wilson. It goes like this. Summer means happy times and good sunshine. I don't know any other way to say it. I love the summer. I love the warm weather. To me, I say pretty often, probably at least once a month, that I swear I'm a plant. Because when it's nice and sunny out, nice and warm out, I feel just energized. And when it's cloudy, gloomy days, I just feel blah. And it may not be every cloudy or gloomy day, but I promise you it's every sunny day. I feel great. But summer means happy times and good sunshine. And I urge you and encourage you to go out and make both happen. Enjoy life, as I always say, because life should be fun. And the same applies to the summer. Enjoy the summer, because the summer should be happy and good times. So embracing the warmth, joyful living, and summer heat. All great reasons to be in love with now. That's all for this episode of Dave's Head. If you enjoyed this episode, I'm sure you'll love similar content in the Alive Podcast Network app. Plus, you can support this podcast and enjoy ad-free listening to nearly 100 other Black-hosted podcasts. Download the iOS or Android app, become a member, and experience unlimited access to Black-hosted content week after week. Follow, like, and or subscribe to this podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and or X at Dave's Head Pod, and on YouTube at Dave's Head Podcast. For more information and links to all things Dave's Head, check out our website at daveshead.card.co. Episode premiere on the second and fourth Fridays of the month. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, enjoy life because life should be fun. Take care.